and welcome to a brand new edition of the Red Mountain Express podcast. This is our 79th episode. I am Blake Westbrook.
I'm Patrick Tucker.
And we are coming to you from the Lumbar in the Incubator Room located in Pepper Place on 29th Street. So make sure you stop by and see Riley and the good folks here. We have koozies behind the bar, I think. So if you want one, you have to come up here and you have to ask for them, right?
That's right.
Okay, good. So we have a good show in store for our listeners, but we'll get to the news and everything later, but we have a really good guest today, and I'm really, really excited.
Blake is really, really excited.
So let me just preface this by saying this interview started with us having a discussion who my, I guess, dream interview would be.
That was
it's
correct.
this person. So let's bring on our guest. He is one of the most popular attorneys in Alabama, and if not, around the Southeast. His law firm has grown to more than 60 attorneys, I believe. I think he said 60 or 70. And his marketing campaign has been ingrained in the culture of the state of Alabama. So we are so proud to have Mr. Alexander Shunnarah on the show. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank y'all for having me, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here, and I look forward to talking to you guys tonight, and I hope I don't disappoint anyone.
I don't think you're going to disappoint.
It's not possible.
Look, you showed up, so I'm good to go, yeah. We're actually sitting here watching the draft. We were talking earlier. Now, are you a Falcons fan? Is that right?
I am being born and raised in Birmingham, you have to adopt a team, so I adopted the Falcons many, many moons ago.
Well,
We're still waiting on our first Super Bowl win.
It could be this year.
Could be this year.
Hey.
Could be this year.
Could be.
Hey,
The draft will have a lot to do with that tonight.
Well, that's what we're watching right now, so I don't know when the Falcons come up, but who are you hoping they get?
The Falcons pick 14th. It's going to be interesting. I think they're going to take either Greedy Williams, the cornerback out of LSU.
That's a good
They've
pick.
lost 3 or 4 defensive backs this year, or they may go big defensive tackle to help Grady Jarrett, or they may take a defensive end. But it'll be one of those 3 positions.
All right, so when this is published, we'll know. And
Hey, if this whole attorney thing doesn't work out, you could be a draft analyst.
Well, I'd like to be either it'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun. It'd be a lot of work, but it'd be a lot of fun. Mel Kiper's getting kind of old, so maybe I can take a spot.
You could be the next Mel Kiper.
You could just, if this whole attorney thing doesn't work out, you can just, go ahead and
maybe y'all can put in a good word for me.
I'll put in a good word for you. Yeah.
Thank y'all, guys.
So yeah, you were born and raised here in Birmingham. So kind of talk about your background. I know everybody knows you as an attorney, but you're from Birmingham. You're a Birmingham kid.
Well, most people don't know this. I mean, maybe they have, but I was born and raised in Birmingham. My parents are actually from overseas. I'm a Palestinian Christian. My mom and dad are from a small town 7 miles north of Jerusalem called Ramallah. My dad came over in 1948. When I visit New York a lot. I have business in New York.
Cool.
Last year. It was really cool.
So you're first-generation American.
First-generation American. My dad served in the United States Navy for about 8 years, and when he got out, actually went home, back to the motherland, found my mom, married my mom, brought her back. Rumor is I was conceived in Panama City Beach on the honeymoon.
That's a great place to go for your honeymoon.
How did they settle Birmingham? How did that happen?
The rumor is that there was a first Shunnarah man, and it's always funny. It's a wise tale, but I think it's true that the first Shunnarah man was a guy by the name of Salem Shunnarah. Actually, his children actually still own Asia Rug Company. They clean Oriental rugs here in town.
Yeah.
Great people. And they say that my uncle met a Southern belle, and my great uncle in New York, and he followed her back to Birmingham, and that's how the first Shunnarah settled here. And since he was the first one, when all the other Shunnarahs came over, like my grandfather before my father, they all followed him to Birmingham.
That's a great story.
That's a great story.
So you went to John Carroll High School, is that right?
Yes, I was born and raised Catholic. Last 10 years I've been non-denominational. I've been going to church at the Highlands, really enjoyed there. Probably know everybody there. It's a mega church, but real involved. But I went to John Carroll High School, went on to Samford University. It's a long story. Graduated my last year from UAB because of our political science. Thought I was going to be an entrepreneur, was in business with my dad. We had about 7 or 8 C-stores and custom car stereo shops, just a bunch of different little types of businesses that my dad had. But then, I decided I wanted to go to night law school and went to Birmingham School of Law, graduated, worked for a law firm in town for about 5 years called Corey Watson. And 18 years ago, this coming August will be my law firm, Alexander Shunnarah's existence.
Wow. So you've come a long way from graduating from night school, law school. But how did you get from there to here? That's a pretty big jump. So tell us a little bit about how that happened.
I get that. I get that question asked a lot, and most of the time I don't really have. I get that question asked a lot at when I do podcasts or I'm speaking at events. But I move so fast that I haven't really had a lot of time to really sit back and reflect how I got from 1985 to 2019 or how the firm has grown over 18 years. But I will say this. I mean, there's some staples in there. There's an old saying, inch by inch is a cinch and a yard is hard. And I wish I said there was some magic potion or some formula. But I think it's just a combination of hard work, and I mean really hard work, being passionate about what I like to do, not feeling like it's work, enjoying what I do, taking calculated risks, and being successful. Old poker saying, you got to push in some chips sometimes or you can never win a pot. There have been some times where we've pitched, I've pushed all in and it's just worked out. And I think the good Lord has shown me some favor. I've also surrounded myself with some very good people. Another saying is, I like sayings and quotes. Nobody stands on the top of Mount Everest alone. It seems like they do because they take the selfie by themselves, but you can't get from a level 28 to 31 and 32. It takes a team to get wherever you're going.
Yep.
And I've always tried to surround myself with great people along the way. And there's been a lot of instrumental people at different levels that have taken us to the next step.
So, your law firm, like we've talked about, has grown from you and a paralegal. Now you have 70 attorneys. Tell our listeners how it works. If someone was to call Alexander Shunnarah, how does it work?
Well, over the years, it's changed, obviously. 18 years ago, I would answer the telephone.
Right.
Every call.
Every call. And it never rang. So I'd be like, hello. And I'm like, hey, I'm trying to sell you something. I'm like, okay, I'm not buying today. I don't have any money. But we have a call center now. And, I mean, a real call center. We have about a 50-man call center.
Oh, wow.
We take in about 1,500 calls a day. You would be surprised at the type of calls that we get. I mean, people are not saying they're litigious, but they really are very inquisitive about what they can pursue and when they can pursue it. Of course, we advise them to the best of our ability. But if the call comes in, everything, technology is a wonderful thing now. We take the call, it's turned over to an investigator in our law firm. Everything these days is a live transfer. The whole goal is you never get off the phone with the client if it's a case you want. And before you hang up the phone these days, they are your client.
Mm-hmm.
And technology allows that through DocuSign, through e-assurance,
Right.
All these wonderful things that have come along. After hours, we actually have a call center in El Salvador.
That's cool.
They speak English. My nephew who's here tonight and sitting to the left of me, he goes down about 3 or 4 times a year and trains our employees in El Salvador. So they're bilingual, of course.
That doesn't sound like a bad gig.
So
he's shaking his head no.
Everybody knows me for the billboards. I mean, we spend a lot of money on advertising. I mean, you can ask me that question later if you want to. So we have to make sure that if opportunity presents itself to represent a client that has a claim that has some merit, that we can prosecute under Alabama law or any other state, because we've become a nationwide law firm.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I saw billboards everywhere now.
I mean, we will do our very best. And then it's an honor and a privilege to represent anybody that trusts you, and we take it very seriously. And, once we make a decision, that's the one thing. Once we make a decision, take your case.
I know that, like most personal injury, the vast majority are settled, but for how many cases do you take on?
I think that we're about to, this sounds crazy, but this month we're on pace to break our record. We're going to sign over 2,000 cases in April of 2019.
Oh, wow.
Now, in terms of how many we settle, unfortunately, we don't settle them as fast as we get them.
Right.
Well, of course not, yeah.
Because, but the firm is growing every single day. And, I'm never leaving Alabama. I want to make that clear. I love Alabama. Alabama's my home. I'm here sitting with y'all at this beautiful place tonight, the Lumbar Bar. Y'all know my corporate headquarters is across the street.
We can see it from the road, man.
I live up at Vestavia Hills. I've got 3 beautiful daughters who are only 9, 12, and 13.
Oh, wow.
They are Vestavia to the core. My wife loves Vestavia, so I will die in Birmingham, Alabama. But, we'll continue to travel, and, it's nice to go and visit all the other offices. And, as long as our generals will help me continue the process, we'll be okay.
How many offices do you have?
I think we have 17 locations.
17 locations?
In Alabama or in other
in the
states?
Southeast.
Southeast?
Yeah. Right now we're just in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and Tennessee. But we do have cases in every state. Okay. Maybe not Hawaii and Alaska that I know of, but the other 50 states.
I bet you go back to your office. I bet you'd find a case in Hawaii and Alaska.
I think we actually have a mass tort. We really have gotten into mass torts, and people get confused about that. But we have maybe 10,000 cases dealing where we represent people for stuff like bad drugs is what people call them, or defective medical devices. Like,
right.
Some of the biggest ones, not to get off track, but some of the big ones we're doing now are like Roundup cases.
Right.
The PPIs, which are Nexium, Prilosec, Prevacid, that are causing kidney disease and stomach cancers. The hernia mesh cases.
Is a talcum powder? Is that a part of it?
Talcum powder. We have a lot of talcum powder cases causing ovarian cancer. And then the defective medical devices are like, we were very involved in the hip cases where people were getting the metal on metal hips.
Oh.
And it was causing metallosis, which is blood poisoning, so the hips have to come out. It is really interesting. It's been a wonderful journey, just trying to bring justice to these people against corporate America. And corporate America, we were talking about this earlier, they have billions of dollars. Their revenue's out the roof. And it's amazing the amount of money they will spend to defend their products.
Absolutely. Well, I was talking with a friend of mine actually today, and I was telling him who we were having on the show, and he's actually an attorney by trade, and we were talking about tort reform, and he said, even though his folks who believe his kind of politics are for tort reform, he's not. He said, look, I think if someone is damaged or is injured by somebody, I think that they should be able to get the proper compensation for their injury.
Yeah, I'll say this, if I may elaborate.
No, go ahead.
Look, I wrote a paper on that corporations don't have a soul. I know I mentioned earlier that, I'm a Christian. I'm a true Christian. I was born and raised, as a Christian Palestinian. I gave my life to God. But I really don't believe, and I know it sounds funny, and that's the reason the paper was corporations don't have a soul. A corporation is not a person. Like, the people who run the corporations are human beings, and they have souls.
Right.
But when it really comes down to corporations, and it just is true, it's just, in my humble opinion, and what I have seen in the 22 years of my business, it's always profits over people. We see it every day. People ignore it. The spin factor is corporations are fantastic with public relations.
Right.
They're fantastic with painting the lawyers as the bad guys, until people really will just take a step back and look at the millions and billions of dollars that these companies make at the expense of human life. And sometimes it takes, unfortunately, someone to get cancer, be in a bad accident, or something as simple as, like, I've been paying my insurance company for 25 years, and the first time that I made a claim, they denied my claim, or they dropped me, or they raised my premiums. It's just a business.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer, but I just know what we're dealing with on a daily basis.
Is that what drove you to be an attorney? That emotion, I guess?
Yeah, it's just not fair. It's just not fair, and it's really... how in the world? Let me ask you something. So let's just, like, this Takata airbag thing.
Yep.
We just settled the Takata airbag case today. It's private. It's confidential. But we had we had a Hispanic young man, who's only 17 years old at the time, who's driving down the road. His airbags, his Takata defective airbags, exploded even without an impact. And as a result of it, he is blind in one eye. And so we had to commence litigation against Takata, which filed bankruptcy.
Right.
And then we sued him here in federal court. We had to sue BMW because it was in a BMW. like I said, we were able to resolve it. It was confidential. They fought us for 4 years. But that young man didn't deserve to lose his right eye because they put a defective product.
Absolutely not.
And so if you're going to put a vehicle on the road, you have a duty to make sure that the airbags are not defective. And there's all kind of documents that they knew there was a risk with these type of airbags. And you know what's crazy? They're in half the cars right now in America.
So it made me feel good when I'm driving home.
I know. I've already had to replace one airbag.
I'm serious. I mean, my own car. I have this. I have a couple cars, but I mean, my own. Maybe don't. I have a Range Rover. It had a Takata airbag. Took it in. They replaced my Takata airbag. So I mean, but that's just one example.
Right. I want to move from you as an attorney to now the marketing that y'all do, because I mean that's kind of what you're known for, the Call Me Alabama and the billboards that you see everywhere. What was the thought process behind that? Now, and I've said this earlier, if you go to like other cities, I mean there's a 1,000 lawyers that put billboards up. Yeah. One, what was the thought process about you putting all these up, and two, why have they stuck?
Yeah, and let me answer that. First of all, I want to thank y'all for allowing me to speak, and I think sometimes, because our marketing is so prevalent, our taglines and our marketing, that a lot of people honestly forget that I am a lawyer.
Yeah, and that you do good work and things.
And that I actually am passionate about the law, and I actually do know the law, and I'm actually a very, very good lawyer. But, I have some lawyers that are actually just as good as I am in my law office, if not better. But thank you for that. In regards to the marketing, really it's just I'm entrepreneurial in nature. My dad, back going to history, I started, didn't have very much money growing up. Didn't have really, grew up kind of somewhat in a poor family, I guess, a little bit below middle class. And so my dad would take me to the flea markets with him. That's how he made his living when he got out of the Navy. And so I'd be about 10 years old, and he'd say, look, I'm 11, 12. I've got to go do this or I got to do that. And when I come back, I want you to sell $20.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, Dad. And, and it's not that he was going to beat me if I didn't sell $20, but he would always challenge me.
Yeah.
So I learned to talk to people. And I mean, I can tell y'all are people, y'all love people. And so I learned to talk to people. I learned to deal with people. And so, and then I told y'all, we owned a bunch of different stores, and if you know anything about being a C-store clerk, which I was proud of my job. When you've got people, 400 or 500 people a day walking in your store, you're talking to them, you're dialoguing with them. Once again, worked on my people skills. And then I got out and kind of got hands, when I went to work for that first law firm for 5 years, well, I couldn't market because, I was working for a law firm. I couldn't really market myself. So then I got out on my own, and at first I was kind of naive. I was like, well, I was born in Birmingham. I was raised in Birmingham. I went to John Kerr High School. I went to church here. I went to Sanford. I went to UAB. I know everybody. I'm going to do great. But I quickly learned that my whole entire
network
that I knew was like maybe 1,000 people.
Right.
And if I was going to depend on them, I was going to starve. And then I quickly learned that some of the people won't even hire you.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so I've got to figure this thing out. And so I got into like reading about marketing and reading some marketing books. First book I ever read, I'll never forget about it. Everybody's heard about it. The Purple Cow by Seth Godin.
Yeah.
Good book, little books, purple books, still probably on my desk somewhere or at home in my library. And it was about standing out, differentiating yourself. And I then eventually, kind of sat back, like we said, thought, reflected, okay, so what do I want to do? And I was like, all right, I'm committed to practicing law. I'm going to be here. I'm 30 years old. I'm staying in Birmingham. I want to practice personal injury law because that's what I learned straight out. Going to work for a personal injury law firm, you kind of stick with what you know.
Right.
And this is exactly what I thought, and this is exactly what I said. I said, I don't know if people are going to hire me, but my goal and my objective is if someone has an accident in the state of Alabama or if somebody has a personal injury in the state of Alabama, I want them to at least know my name so I could at least be an option. Doesn't mean they're going to pick me, doesn't mean they're going to choose me, but I want them to know who I am. The old saying, and once again, I'm kind of rambling on. Went in, people have a very short memory. Like as we sit here today, I know that my plumber's name is Jan, and I have him in my phone as Jan the plumber. I don't know his last name. I don't even know his number anymore, right? Because we don't know anybody's
numbers anymore.
But I know if I type Jan, there's my plumber. And so I've always kind of known that, and I was like, all right, I've got to kind of somehow resonate Alex and accident.
Yeah.
Or Alex and accident and injury. And so how do I do that? Because when people think of accident and injury, I want them to think of Alexander or Alex.
Right.
And that kind of began the process. And, the process, I started with some magnets that go on your refrigerator, to your keychains, and to the things I could afford. So and obviously over time and over the past 18 years, our budget this year is $18 million. Wow. Obviously, if we spend $18 million, we'd like to get 18,000. We're getting 2,000 cases, 24,000 cases. You start looking at how much it really costs you to cost per acquisition per client, and then how much 2 years from now can you get a return on investment. Then you got to pay your staff, your lawyers, and in the end, you hope there's something left for yourself. Plus, it's passion.
Right.
So what is a man for a people? Where does that come in? What does that mean to you? And what can people expect?
So here's a beautiful thing about this is what I like about being a lawyer, and I mean it respectfully. And people say, "Why did you want to be a lawyer?" Other than that, I'm gonna tell you what fascinated me about the law even before I became a lawyer. The law is in everything, and people don't realize that. That's what I really like about it. I always knew that, and I was fast. I took some business law classes in college, and I thought, the law is in like something as weird as like when someone dies. How many feet under the ground do we have to bury them, right?
Yep.
So there's laws on that. People don't think about that. There's laws that govern our marriage, right? There's laws that govern what we got to pay them if they leave us or we leave them. There's laws on how fast we can drive. There's universal laws, right? Gravity. Yep. So the law is in everything. How this table that was built.
How the microphone you're speaking into is manufactured.
I mean, every single thing you see, hear, touch, the law is intertwined in it. There's nothing, planes, cars, products, everything. So the law is in everything you see, touch, or talk about. And so it's a pretty interesting subject. So I always encourage people, a law degree is a great thing to have.
Yeah.
How we disperse our money, our taxes, anything, building codes. Obviously, the building codes are in Florida with all the hurricanes. They have to use different type of wood, different type of structure, different type of nails. It's just an amazing thing how the law encompasses every single thing we do. And so that fascinated me. So I said, I'm gonna get this law degree. I got it. Didn't even know I was gonna practice law. I just thought it was a practical thing. And then he was a relative of mine who owned Corey Watson. He's like, came in my C-store one night after I'd passed the bar, and he's like, "What do you do?" It was like, real odd. He said, "How much money do you make?" I was like, "Well, we're cousins, but I ain't gonna tell you that." And it was, he's like, "Well, if you come," it's a true story. He's like, and he's a very successful lawyer, and I have the utmost respect for him because he's kind of my mentor for 5 years. He's like, "Well, have you ever thought about coming and practicing law?" He said, and I was like, "No." And he's like, "Well, look, come work for me, and I'll be honest with you." He's like, "I'll show you how to make some real money." And I was like, "Okay." And I knew money's relative, and Warren Buffett's money and this guy's money, it's all relative, right?
Right.
It's a relative term. So I was like, "Okay, I'll come try it." And so I went over there, learned to practice plaintiff's work, and he opened my eyes to like a whole different world, and I just had never stopped since then.
You talk about how you said that you wanted to, anytime someone had an accident or someone needed an attorney, they would think of you. And I think that has happened in Alabama. I mean, you're ingrained in the culture in the state of Alabama. I have no doubt about that.
When kids are dressing up as you for Halloween,
that happens.
I think you've made an impact.
Can I say this? Here's the thing. Listen, I never envisioned all that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you surprised by all this?
Yeah, I'm surprised because, here's the thing. So when I studied marketing, and I understand a lot about marketing now. The joke is people come up to me all the time, and really appreciate y'all putting me on this show, and they're like, "Well, Alex, you know a lot about marketing and branding and advertising." Hey, I go speak to the students in Tuscaloosa, and I won National Trial Lawyer of the Year in the whole United States of America and accepted this big award. And, my joke is, if you've blown $50 million on advertising, you might know a thing or two. So, I've tried it all, guys. I know I'm being funny. Look, I've asked people to tattoo my name on their foreheads for $50. The joke is, I've tried it all. I've put
but you back it up.
Placemats and urinals. People are peeing on me, man. I've tried it all, right? The Dreamland little business card cemented in the table.
Yep.
In reality, I have tried every kind of marketing and branding and advertising there is. I have spent a lot of money. It's an inexact science, I tell people all the time. Right now we're having fun. We're watching a draft. We're talking. If you and I,
Atlanta's
Patrick
up next,
and
so
Blake,
we'll find out who Atlanta's going to get here in a second.
I hope it's my pick. If we're sitting here at the table with my cousin Mitch. Shout out to him and you, Patrick, and you, Blake. Like, if we could increase Coca-Cola sales by 1% right now, guaranteed worldwide, which is a big deal. We could get in my car now. We can drive to Atlanta. They'd probably write us a $10 million check.
Oh, sure.
It's an inexact science. And I think it's trial and error. I think it's technology. I think it's cutting edge. Look, who heard about social media 5 years ago?
Yeah, and I was, you've really gotten to that now, right?
Yeah, I'm really into it. We didn't know about it. I never had heard of, and so now if you look at the stats and the statistics, there is a huge shift. And so that's a very challenging thing for us. We're traditional advertising companies still, billboards, television, radio. Got our social media, got our guerrilla marketing, got our community involvement, got a list of 35 different things we do. But the question is, if you look at all the big companies, what are they doing? They have become, the shift is on, my man, and it's going to be 2-to-1 digital. That's where it's headed. And so the question is, how do we as lawyers make the shift too over time? And so we won't, instantaneously shift, but we know that 80% of people are searching with this handheld device. My kids don't watch TV anymore.
Nope.
They don't even know what TV is. We have 10 TVs at our house. They've never turned on the televisions. They would rather watch Netflix like this. It's crazy.
The phone, yeah.
It's a whole generation. My wife's like, you're on the phones all the time. You're on the phones all the time. And I'm like, baby, that's their TV.
Yeah.
They didn't grow up like you and I. That's their television. They don't even watch their iPads. It's their nice little iPhone 10. I'm watching my TV show. And it's crazy. And, and I think in this world, if you don't stay one step ahead of the competition, you'll kind of get lost. And I take that seriously because, we were talking about Nick Saban earlier and whatever. I want to stay number one. I don't want to say, call me Alabama. I want to say, call me America.
Yeah.
That's my goal. Hey, I may never get there. Nobody ever gets to where they want to really get. But you know what? I'll die trying. It's fun. As long as I'm healthy and as long as I'm having fun, I'll keep pushing. But you got to stay ahead of the competition.
Well, with all the changes and everything, what's next for you and your law firm?
Just constantly, hopefully, you've got to balance growth, the growth of the firm, because there's something called growing pains.
Right.
And it's really something that we deal with on a daily basis. And so how do you continuously grow your firm, grow your practice areas, but continue to provide excellent client service, and never forget that, the thing we preach, that every client, we may have a lot of cases, but that client, that's his only case. And a lot of people that we represent, that check that we give them, that's the single largest check they've ever had in their life.
Yep.
We don't represent corporate America. We don't represent Sony or Nike or one of these companies. And so, and look, obviously we've had a lot of big settlements over the years. Unfortunately, those people were catastrophically injured. You can't hand somebody $4 or $5 million and they not be missing a couple of legs or, being paralyzed. Let's just be honest about it. But you hand somebody a $20,000 check sometimes, I'm telling you, their tax returns is not that big, and they've never been paid that much. And so we always value and understand how important, that's the culture I try to preach, that every case is important, and every client is important, and every job, I think, overall, your employees sometimes let you down, but we really strive on good culture. I lead by example. I love Nick Saban. We've talked about it. I think he leads by example. We were talking about how long will Nick Saban go. I think as long as he's healthy and as long as he has the energy and as long as he can lead Alabama, he will go as long. It'll take something, and same thing for me, it'll take something like health issues, or God forbid, it would take something like maybe, God forbid, Nick Saban's wife getting sick or my wife getting sick, somebody like that, because when you have that insatiable desire, it takes something sometimes
catastrophic
to kind of take you out.
Yeah.
And so we'll keep going, and and I'm drinking a Diet Coke here tonight, but I go to the gym every night. I tell you, I go to Lifetime. I know y'all do. I try to stay healthy. I eat real clean. I'm a 52-year-old man. I'm not a kid anymore. I still think I'm a kid, but my shoulders and my knees remind me I'm not a kid anymore.
Well, this has been a thrill. We've enjoyed this.
I was just gonna say thank you so much for coming to see us. I do want to. I got to get one thing before we go.
Yeah, man. I'm enjoying myself.
I need to call me Alabama.
You have to say, "Call me Alabama."
Hey, that's our famous tagline. Call me Alabama.
That's perfect.
That was perfect. Thank you so much for coming on. Let's take a break. Let's hear from our sponsor, and we'll put some information links in our show notes about Mr. Shunnarah. Thank you again. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Beecham Woodworks is a locally owned and operated wood shop in Birmingham, Alabama, specializing in custom furniture and small home goods. Chris and K&M Beecham create a wide variety of unique pieces of all sizes, ranging from cutting boards to farmhouse tables. Using wood sourced from Alabama sawmills, Beecham Woodworks creates affordable, quality pieces that will be a one-of-a-kind fixture for your home. So support your local woodworker and visit redmountainexpress.com/woodworks or check them out on their Facebook and Instagram accounts. Beecham Woodworks, turning your house into a home. And welcome back to the second half of the Red Mountain Express podcast. We had a good first half.
Yes, we did.
I'm going to tell you what, we can just end the show. We don't have to do any more episodes.
Blake's happy.
So my question is, what are we going to name this episode? Is it We Called Alexander Shunnarah, or is it Call Me Red Mountain Express?
I don't know.
See? I don't know.
We'll see which one pops up on the thing.
Pops up, yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about what's going on in Birmingham. The first story that I wanted to mention is that you sent this to me, actually, right?
Yeah.
So Wells Fargo is moving out of the tower early.
Right. So the Wells Fargo tower is becoming
the shipped tower.
The shipped tower.
Yeah.
So Wells Fargo is moving out of that space, and Shipped is moving in. I don't know if it's the same exact
I think
floors or whatever, but at least
so.
Wells Fargo is coming down and Shipped is moving in. So I think we talked about this a little bit before, but there was an article on AL.com about the fact that they're going to relocate to the Harbert Plaza.
Yeah, when Wells Fargo took over for, I guess it was Wachovia, and before that it was South Trust, they didn't need the big staff that those banks needed because, most of their staff is out in San Francisco.
Right.
So, they had to, they don't have the executive staff there now. They don't have probably the processing staff they normally have. So, now they don't need as much space, I guess. And so I am surprised that Wells Fargo did end the advertising agreement or the agreement to put their name on the tower. It's just, I guess maybe they inherited that deal, but
Shipped probably was happy to take over that.
I believe when that came open, Shipped had no problem taking that. So Shipped Tower will be going up probably sometime late next year, right?
Yep, that should be next year.
Next story I want to talk about real quick is that Bassmasters Classic is coming back to Birmingham. So do you fish? You don't fish, do you?
I have fished before, but I'm not like a fisherman. I know some people. That's what they do for fun, and
my uncle does nothing but fish.
Yeah, I have fished fairly recently, but not a huge fisherman. But I also kind of don't quite understand watching. Not like I can watch a fishing show, but I don't understand watching the weigh-ins, like the excitement that comes with watching a weigh-in.
I mean, maybe you don't like it, but do you like watching golf?
I didn't say I didn't like it. I thought it's interesting that there's they're showing a picture on here, and this arena is full of people.
Well, yeah, they'll pack it out, man.
That's a big event.
They're going to have an expo, and they're going to have the weigh-ins, and this is their biggest event of the year, and people love bass. So, it's going to be coming to Birmingham, and Lake Gunnersville is where they'll be fishing, and this will be in 2020. It's their big event. And,
as Mayor Woodfin put it, this is their the Super Bowl bass fishing, which is cool.
Hey, man, I mean.
That's great for the city.
We've always wanted a Super Bowl. and so now we just get into bass fishing.
Yeah, the Super Bowl is going to be a little bit harder for us to get. I think this is great. Like I said, it's probably not an event I would go to, but I do know a lot of people watch it. A lot of people are very interested in it, and
this is
I think it'll bring a lot of people to the city.
Yeah, it's not something that's new to Birmingham, but it's something that we can really, pump up. And, they had it in Knoxville, I believe, last year.
Right.
And, like, the impact of the city just in economic development is $32 million.
$32 million. That's a huge impact to the city. So I am happy about that. There's over a $1 million winning purse for catching fish.
Now you want to go fish, now don't you?
Now I am thinking I do the wrong thing for a living.
I have to go bass fishing in a couple weeks. It's a charity thing. And I fish once a year, and it's during that thing.
Yeah.
So it's fun. I like fishing, but I just don't have a lot of time to do it.
All right, so we'll move on to the geeky technology stuff. So Birmingham is going to be hosting a couple of international events for aerospace and the automotive sectors. So we will have the Aerospace Innovative Technology Summit and the Automotive Advanced Technology Summit. Both will be held at the BJCC in May. So these are two big conferences that are going to be bringing people into downtown again. It's another chance for our city to kind of showcase itself and show off for some folks and get people into downtown.
If you look at other cities that are like Birmingham that had economic interest in manufacturing or steel, like Pittsburgh. Okay, Pittsburgh is now known for healthcare and high tech, and Birmingham, of course, is known for healthcare, but now they want to be. They want to bring in more high tech.
Yeah, I think technology, and specifically technology around the medical industry with UAB, and there's been some like biotech startups and things like that around here. So I think this would be great to bring in. Plus, I mean, we have a lot of auto manufacturing in the state. We've got Honda, we've got Hyundai, we've got Mercedes, and so some of those bigger automotive manufacturers, Mazda, Toyota, and some of the other ones will be coming in for the automotive summit, which I think. We'll actually be doing a gala dinner and reception at the Barber Motorsports Museum.
Which is awesome. If you've never been, go.
Man, that place, and it's right next to Rusty's Barbecue, which if you go out there, you got to go to Rusty's. But that place is incredible. I mean, just the amount of motorcycle, and I'm not even a motorcycle guy, but like.
They have like really old ones too, like the old Indians.
And they're all like perfectly restored, and it's just a really, really cool space to go check out. It's a great space if you get a chance to go to an event there, which there is an event coming up that's going to be there that I wanted to talk about that you forgot to remind me about.
Well, I was going to remind you
right now. Right now.
Yeah.
So the First Light Women's Shelter is holding their annual gala. I say it wrong every time. It's holding their annual gala at the Barber Motorsports Vintage Museum, and that's coming up on May the 4th. And I think tickets are still available. I think you can go to their website to check it out. It's
firstlight.org, I believe.
Firstlight.org, yeah. So
and they're a great organization. Actually, it was founded in the basement of the church that we are members of at First Presbyterian.
Yep.
Are they the only women and children's shelter in Birmingham, or they were at one point?
I think they're the only 24-hour.
Yeah, the 24-hour one.
Yeah,
and they have a great mission. They do a lot of good work for the community, and it's a cause worth supporting. And I mean, I've been for the last couple years. Actually, the last 3 years I think I've been.
Yep.
And I know your wife was on the board for.
She
still is on the board.
Yep.
So check it out, firstlight.org. They're a great organization, and I can't say enough nice things about the folks that are there. So.
Yep, and it gives you an opportunity to go out and check out that museum, which is really great.
Which is just another good thing about the gala.
Exactly.
See, I said it right. Yeah.
Yes, you did.
That's it. It's a slow news week, but we had a big show on the front end, so we really didn't need much on the back end, right?
Yeah, I can't talk about any more news. It's been too much fun. We're watching the draft still.
Yeah, and Alexander said that they were going to take a defensive back, a defensive end, or a lineman, and they went lineman. They went with the guard from Boston College. So, and I think he was happy with it. I think the kid looks the part. They were showing some clips of him, and I'll tell you what, he knocked a big old guy down from I think it was from Georgia Tech. So the guy was from Boston College, but then the guy he knocked down was from Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm sure that'll work out great. So.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Red Mountain Express. It's been a great show. We want to thank our guest, Alexander Shunnarah, for coming on. We know that he's a very busy man.
He's a man for the people. Just ask my kids; they'll tell you.
Yeah, if you want to call him, you can go to Shunnarah.com, and they'll take your claim there. And I think I have a number here: 1-800-229-7989, and they'll
or just look up to your left and see one of his billboards.
That's exactly right. They
can
do
number's on there.
Free consultation right over the phone. Remember, you can go to our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter to access our show. You can also find us on iTunes and our website, redmountainexpress.com. For Patrick Tucker, I'm Blake Westbrook. We'll see you next week.